give UTA credit. I thought they came out with a lot of energy. They play the game with force. They caused us problems just with their switchability at times. We're not at 100% as a team. I thought our guys had some gritty performance. We just got some guys under the weather that aren't feeling great. And for them to come out and compete, I didn't do a good enough job as a coach of rotating us. I felt like we had some matchups that we wanted to keep, and because we were turning the ball over so much, I tried to keep it consistent with some guard play, but it ended up working against us, and I thought fatigue led to a lot of turnovers in the second half, not in the first. And then we didn't do a good enough job on the glass, but they play the game at a pace and with a force that always puts you in a position where it could be a foul or a turnover. And so just we lacked some composure. So I was really, the only thing I was disappointed in was like, how do we maintain more composure as the game gets loose? But finding a way to win and, going into the break, this is a difficult game to play at times because guys are ready to go home. So for us to finish the first part of this off, I thought was a good finish.
Well, you mentioned guys being under the weather. Was Pop one of them? Because it looked to me in the first half like I think you called the timeout at the 9-minute mark. It looked like just to get everybody's legs back under him.
Yeah, we had some guys that didn't practice this week that got in and out of practice and then found a way to be prepared for the game. So he was one of them.
And Philip Russell had only played one game coming in, but he scored 28 points. Where was he on your scouting report coming into this?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was on our scouting report when we decided to schedule the game in the summer. I mean, we knew that they had signed him. We knew that the NCAA hadn't approved two-time transfers up to this point yet and that he would need a waiver. And so, we were very aware of his ability, and it actually factored into whether we were going to schedule him or not, to be honest. And then when they did get him through the waiver and we did watch him play in Fort Worth, I mean, we knew he would add an element. In the first half, actually, felt like we did a good job on him. And it just was late when I should have subbed more to keep fresher bodies on him, because when we were in between him and the basket and we didn't foul him, I thought we did a good job. But we fouled him shooting a 2, we fouled him shooting a 3, and we let him get going from the free throw line. Other than that, he got loose in that segment in transition a few times, just driving it early in the clock. And I felt like we just weren't at 100%.
Yeah, and do you feel like maybe that contributed a little bit to maybe playing a little bit in spurts? It seemed like in the first half you got stuck on 24, 27 for a long, long time. And then obviously you had a 20-point lead drop down to, 4 or something like that in the second half.
Yeah, for us, you can see it honestly with an identity, trying to figure out who's going to be a guy when the game starts to get tight, where are we going to go with the basketball. And I think we got a lot of options. I was thankful because I thought Darian Williams really gave us a lift and put pressure on the rim enough where they had to defend him, and that opened up options. I mean, when we went on our run, he was making passes, and we made open threes, and Warren was able to get a few dunks out of it. And so it was a nice combo change for us during that stretch. And you can see the urgency in Joe Toussaint's eyes when the game gets tight. He's got a different gear to him defensively, and he gritted out, I thought, a game where he got in foul trouble and found a way to stay in the mix. We just got to make better decisions. Honestly, that's the truth, and kind of keep sharing the ball and make it about how do you make the next right play other than try to make the big play.
Coach, you mentioned Forest a couple of times. Is this one of the more physical games you guys have played this season? And if so, how is that going to help you moving into Big 12 play?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a lot of the opponents that they'd played against. And you got Arizona is the top team in the country, and I think it was consistent that they said, hey, they're not going to back down, and they're going to put pressure on you in off the bounce, and then they're going to really put pressure on you in rebounding. So you just be ready for 40 minutes of a little bit of chaotic pace, and it felt like that, it felt like they could break the game open, or it felt like they could turn it over 5 times, and the next thing you know, you'd be back in it. But give them credit, because I thought they played hard, and I thought KT had those guys really competing all the way to the end. Just wish we took better care of the basketball. I think if we could do that, then it really would have stretched the lead in those times when we let them back into the game because we were careless.
You kind of mentioned it in a previous answer. Is that the situation that you kind of got Joe Toussaint here for, though? I mean, he seemed to thrive in that physical, hectic style of play that you guys were going against.
Yeah, I think honestly where he really provides us leadership is he loves competing and he loves to guard the ball. You see him when the game's on and people are trying to drive it at him. I mean, he had some really good possessions defensively. And then the other part that makes Joe a great finisher is he gets to the free throw line and he can make free throws. So you get to the end of games and you can keep the ball in his hands because he can make the right play. And tonight he took a few tough ones when felt like he could have just shared it. But, he's getting better every game at making the right decisions.
Coach, it looked like they were throwing a lot of different defenses out there. You guys, a little bit of zone, kind of some half-court pressure, stuff like that. I guess, did you feel like, how much did you feel like that kind of factored into the turnovers?
Well, honestly, felt like everything we saw we were prepared for. So, but what you don't take into account is just kind of the unsure part of the switching. That's where I felt like we had the majority of our mistakes. And in the half court, when we got the ball in the half court, we had plenty of times where we just rushed a pass. If you just stay a little bit composed and play off 2 feet, then their over rotation will tell you what the next play is. And I thought we were a little too quick just to try to make a bigger play. And like cross-court passes to the corner when there's no rotation, there's no reason to do it. Honestly, it's just trying to make too big a play. And I thought that was more indicative of them switching than it was their changing defenses.
And I asked Darian about this too, but just the extra guy they were sending on the traps to the short corner and in the post, I guess, how do you feel like him and Warren kind of handled that and just maybe what they were able to do to facilitate out of those traps?
Yeah, well, both of them had a turnover in the first half against it. Warren got a ball deflected. Darian got a ball deflected against it. And that happened because they just tried to pass it really quickly. And sometimes you got to handle the pressure first and make the read and let them show their hand. And we've been working on it. Our guys actually got better at it. And I thought it was the difference in the game. I mean, when you go look back and look at it, we had like 5 dunks at the rim or layups because of them double teaming, or we got that chances catch shoot 3 on the wing in the second half because of it. We were able to stretch the lead because of finding a facilitator in Darian down there in the post.
Coach, you turn over the ball 17 times, but you also get them to turn over the ball 17 times. It felt like Pop was active in the passing lanes, and you guys just obviously didn't have the day you wanted on the boards, but you got some steals, and you're able to, I guess, keep in it on the defensive end as well.
Yeah, ultimately, we knew going into this game that they would create some chaos with their defense, but they'd also be chaotic on offense at times. And if we just stayed solid without fouling, the first half, the fact that we didn't have any free throws was kind of a shocker. Like neither team did. And then you get to the second half, and it felt like it was the opposite. It just was sloppy, and a lot of teams just with transition baskets and we just played a little too chaotic and need to have better composure to solidify some of those turnovers.
Coach, a lot of lessons learned from this game. What are some positives to take with y'all?
I think the biggest positive to me was finding that versatility with Darian being able to facilitate, and then the fact that they did make a run and cut the lead, and we found a way to separate again. You don't ever want to give up leads. We found a way to be up 20 in this building a few times and allowed teams to come back into the game. And this one was due to turnovers and offensive rebounds. But, it's a resilient group, and the fact that they fought through some, not feeling their best, I appreciated their effort.
And how do you move on from this game and start preparing for the next, kind of, I guess, mentally and physically?
Yeah, well, I think it is a time for us. We need a break. We need a couple days for us to regroup, and I do think we can get healthy. And we've got a great Sam Houston State team coming in here that we're familiar with, that is physical, and actually one of the more physical teams we'll play. And so excited for everybody to see family, love on each other, and be around people they love, and then come back here refreshed, ready to go, and get 2 games before we hit into conference play.
You kind of mentioned getting out to some of those big leagues and let teams come back in. How much of that do you think is kind of maybe the lack of energy in the building a little bit, because attendance has been down this year, and how does that kind of factor into how do you guys have been playing so far?
Honestly, I don't have a lot of experience with it, to tell you the truth. I can just tell you with our team, we need to create energy with how we play, and being active defensively and being the more physical team and do a great job of taking care of the basketball, and that's kind of the things we can control.
I think I did decent. Obviously, I've had a lot of turnovers these last 2 games, so kind of upset at that, but I'm just going to fix that over this break for our next game. But other than that, I think I did decent. A lot of things I can do better defensively, and probably got more offensive rebounds, be more aggressive that way, but just trying to cut down on the turnovers.
And on some of those technicals, kind of what happened in those sequences, because it got a little weird midway through the second half?
Well, the one guy, I don't know his name, he hit Joe in the face, and I probably got to be smarter than that, and coach has been on me about that, but I'm not going to let somebody just hit my teammate like that. So, yeah, that was it.
And then, Joe, I guess just kind of evaluate your performance in this one.
We got to be better. 3 turnovers, that's the stat that stands out to me, and I remember all 3. So I just got to be better. 2 assists, got to be better. I got to help the team rebound. Got to play without fouling. So I just got to get better in all aspects, honestly.
Joe, it kind of seems like maybe just because you have more home games, but you guys maybe lack a little bit of energy, a little bit of bounce at home as opposed to neutral or on the road. Is there something to that, or is it just kind of finding that groove of where you guys are at right now?
Playing home is always good. Home court advantage is always real. So, obviously I feel like we're going to have a little bit more energy at home. But that should carry on to the neutral sites, and also it should carry on away as well for us to get some wins on the road.
And Darian got a couple more non-con here. Where are you guys at right now? Is there one thing in particular, like if we fix this or we shore this up a little bit more, we're in a good spot?
I think just turnovers, honestly, as a team. Like we had 17 today. It's a little high. I contributed to that a lot. But turnovers, and then just not getting lazy on certain parts of the game, just staying focused on details.
Darian, it seemed that like at times early on in the game, and I guess just kind of throughout, when you would go into the short corner or even on the block, they were throwing that extra guy at you. I guess how did that maybe change how you kind of had to approach those situations when that's kind of been what you've been successful at this season, just kind of in those short corner post-up situations. I guess how did that maybe change how you had to approach that?
We knew coming in based on scout. Coach gave us a great scout. They like to trap from the big dude, the 22 or whoever was the big at the time. They come for him. So just being patient and not trying to force it. And I had a decent amount of assists, but 5 turnovers off of that is unacceptable for me.
Joe, you were able to hold number 1 to only 5 made field goals, and coming into the game, you had 28 last game, and obviously he's pretty new to the mix there for them. But what was the defensive game plan for him? And then obviously you're executing it pretty well.
Just be engaged for the whole game. Give credit to him. His first game, like you said, he had 30-something. He's a good player, could shoot it. Can handle it, so I was just trying to be in the space, honestly, and I feel like everybody did a good job. It wasn't just me. I feel like everybody was in the gaps. Anybody who switched on to him, sometimes we let him go right, but, majority of the game, I feel like we kept him in front, and, that's why he took 18 shots to get 18 points. So, I feel like we did a good job on him.